Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk Show with Waylon Lewis. We're in my crowded living room today with Larry Cooper and Tammi Merrill. Honored to have you. Thank you so much. And we're here to talk about GMOs and how we love them so much. We want them labeled clearly on products so that we can be sure to buy them up in the grocery stores.
Oh, super.
Yeah, right now it's super confusing. If you want your GMO products, it's hard to tell which ones have them. So Monsanto's been funding Monsanto, as always standing for transparency and environmental responsibility, is fighting a grassroots fight for GMO labeling transparency. So we'll get into all of that. Maybe I'll learn things that I'm a little confused about things. We begin these conversations with a bow. As a viewer, you can join in if you like. Everyone in the room can join in. You can just take a good posture. It's kind of a natural human posture. The bow is not a big deal. It's just basically an Eastern version of a Western handshake, and it's mutual appreciation and a reminder also for viewers of your mission in your life to be of benefit. So take a good posture. Connect yourself to the earth, your butt or your feet, and your head to the sky above. Find your breath and give it away. Then we also do 1 moment of silence. It can be a prayer, or it can be just a moment of silence, thinking about what's important to you, or if you like, you can follow my guided meditation. This being Boulder, Colorado, we legally have to do a moment of woo-woo meditation in the beginning, or we get kicked out to Broomfield, right? So just find your breath in and out. Again, good posture, connected to the earth, the heavens above. Relax. Not a rigid posture. Find your breath in and out. Your eyes can be open in this particular meditation practice, which is the Buddhist practice of shamatha. Don't worry, you won't become Buddhist by doing it. And then the technique is, if you find yourself thinking, a song in your head, thinking about lunch, thinking about an argument, thinking about a noise or an itch, you can just label that thought. Oh, I'm thinking. Label it silently to yourself, thinking, and return your attention to the breath in or out. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, our pleasure. We've done interviews with some pretty big figures around GMOs in the past. The head of the Non-GMO Project, Michael Pollan, Bill McKibben. We've done interviews around fracking, another favorite grassroots issue. But so obviously what I presented in the beginning was satirical. What is the GMO labeling thing all about, and what are you two doing?
It's a great question. We are a grassroots organization here in Colorado, and our simple interest is to understand what's in our food. We think we have a right to know what's in our food.
And that's what the cause is called, right?
Right to Know Colorado, exactly. And what we found is that there's this huge resistance to any type of labeling, and we don't understand what that's all about.
Resistance from whom, or what, I should say?
Primarily the Grocery Manufacturers Association and all their counterparts that are supporting them, and biotech industry, obviously.
So what is this grocery? I mean, no one's even heard of them, but they're huge and powerful, I guess.
Oh, they're huge and powerful, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, they're protecting their financial interests, clearly understand that, and I'm protecting my healthy interest. I have 7 grandkids, and I want to protect them also. And I just want to know what it is we're feeding them. And I started reading labels about 18 months ago, and I've not really paid a lot of attention to it. I learned about GMOs maybe 2.5 years ago, and I was in total shock and disbelief of how can that possibly be? How could they be putting these chemicals and pesticides into our food without telling us about it? And why isn't our government protecting us?
Right. And for anyone out there who is pro-GMO, labeling is just as good for them. I mean, I was kind of joking, but if you like GMOs and if you're, then you have your products labeled.
Absolutely.
Bonus with GMOs.
Well, labels are very helpful, obviously. Yeah. And if you want GMOs, great.
So you're not trying to get rid of GMOs. You're just trying to have transparency.
Right, and I liken it a lot to caffeine. Some people think caffeine's good for you, some think it's bad for you, some stay away from it, some drink it every morning. But it's labeled so
some
that...
Some can't get enough.
Yeah, but it's labeled so that you know, and you even know...
Some depend on it.
Yeah. And how much does it have? Does it have a little bit? Does it have a lot? I mean, it's simple. We're not saying it's good or bad. We're just saying we'd like to know so that we can make a choice.
Well, I think we're done here. I mean, it seems pretty clear and obvious.
That's what I thought also. How did they make it so complicated?
But so this has been on the ballot in different states, right? California, wherever, Vermont, Connecticut, Washington.
Just California and Washington.
But there is transparency in 3 states right now, right? Vermont, Connecticut, and something.
Vermont, Connecticut, and Maine have passed it.
Right.
2 of the states have conditions around it. Vermont, it's in place now, this law.
Right, and they're now getting sued by Monsanto, right?
By a conglomerate, I think. But yeah, there's a lawsuit.
A conglomerate, okay. Because Monsanto isn't big and vague enough. It's got to be a conglomerate.
No, I need to just state up front. Our campaign is really positive.
Right.
And we're not against anybody. We're not against Monsanto or anybody else. The bottom line is we just simply have a right to know what's in our food, and there's no reason they shouldn't label it. There's no cost associated with it, and they should be able to do it reasonably for us.
Yeah, I mean, the joke is like, I might think I'm sort of anti-Monsanto, but I'm actually just anti-them being anti-transparency and buying up seed companies. And, they do some things that aren't so great, but they are a company. They want to make a profit. I get it. I wish they'd make a profit that was good for the people on the planet. Yeah. But, the fact is I probably eat Monsanto and GMOs like every single time I go out to a restaurant. So for people who don't know what GMOs are, I mean, basically, it started only 10 or 15 years ago, really, right?
Longer.
20.
20. Been on the market for 20 years.
And they just focus on the staples, right? Like rice and soy and
spreading to a lot of different things. So, I mean, primarily corn is the biggest thing you should know about. And we've looked at all these different ingredients you read on the labels and say, why do they have all these things in there? But, they've modified all these things to help mass-produce food, and packaged food obviously needs all kinds of preservatives and chemicals to do that, and so they've changed a lot of things. But corn, soy, cottonseed, the sugars obviously are a concern, so sugar beets.
Oh, and alfalfa now, which is fundamental to feeding cows and stuff. Yeah.
Papaya.
Papaya. Wow. Yeah. Stay away from my papaya.
It's 100% in papaya.
Really? Wow.
And the truth is, they believe that this technology is helpful and helps increase crop production, so they're experimenting with lots of other foods. So there have been tomato experiments with fish DNA, salmon, tried to go to market, but the consumers kind of backlashed on that. So if we don't kind of set the precedent now that we want the transparency, the number of food products is just going to increase, and then we'll have zero transparency.
They're testing wheat, and they just found a huge field of wheat up in Oregon. It was illegal for them to have, but proved to be fully GMO.
And, sounds like a Portlandia episode.
It does.
Send up a bunch of hipsters with their scythes and to cut it down and burn it.
But it actually was a big issue because it's an export crop, and exports got halted during that time while they were trying to investigate it, because there are countries that won't import GMO products.
That's a great point. I was just going to bring that up.
It's a huge issue.
How many countries? It's like 64.
Between 65 and 75 countries mandate labeling or have completely banned it, including China and Russia.
Wow.
How could that be?
When we're more caught up with, the man than China and Russia? Money. Good old money.
So recently, China rejected 600 million pounds of corn from U.S. crop producers because they were all GMO.
So what can a couple, people and a whole bunch of, 400 volunteers or something do against money, big money?
We believe that a grassroots effort is going to make a powerful statement in Colorado. fortunately, California and Washington really led the way.
Right.
And with Vermont just passing the legislation, there's a lot of information, public information about it. The cool thing about Colorado is we're really progressive.
Mm-hmm.
Very healthy state. People are really conscious and care about how they live, where they live. That's why they chose to live in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And we have an opportunity to bring this message to them through social media, through face-to-face talking. We're obviously never going to raise the money that the biotech companies, the grocery manufacturers will bring in the state.
Right.
Great for the economy.
Yeah.
At the same time, part of our message is about freedom. And secondly, it's also about the economics of our state. What would happen if our farms became more local farms and we were buying their produce, we were buying their vegetables, and all their crops locally, and supporting them? And secondly, what if their crops were all non-GMO and they could export them to China, to Russia, to other countries that only accept non-GMO? All of a sudden, there's an economic boom in the state.
Yeah.
That would change some of the game.
I like it. And what's the freedom aspect that you mentioned?
You know, freedom of choice. It's that simple, really. Number one, I was just totally dumbfounded and shocked that the FDA wouldn't be testing GMOs to tell us that they're safe or not. Never been any long-term testing whatsoever. Tell us if it's safe or not. And all of these companies have a blank check written that anytime they produce something, the FDA writes it off. So I started investigating how that's possible. And then I saw this chart, which kind of blew me away, of how many Monsanto executives now run our government agencies, including the head of the FDA, former vice president of Monsanto. I just don't understand those things. I don't hear about them anymore. We need to clean up what's going on.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's interesting, at least for me, to know that you're not just some kind of, like, we interview a lot of activists, you know, who, like, smoke dope in the car before, in their Subaru before walking in here. You know?
I wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah, well, yours wasn't a Subaru, right?
Oh.
But you were on city council in Broomfield, which is not Boulder, for 10 years. You've done a lot of things. You did some other initiative in Broomfield, the county thing. City council. Like, you're a functional person.
Well, we're both business people.
Right.
And we both get it, but we both want to live a great, healthy lifestyle. So,
right.
And what I love about the initiative process, you know, people have said to me when we say this big goal, and they say, oh, good luck. And I'm like, luck has nothing to do with it. If we get 86,512 valid signatures, it goes on the ballot.
How many do you have now?
We have about 40,000 signatures as of this date. We need about 150,000 because you have to have validated signatures. About 70%.
Because so many are messy, or they can't confirm the
or not
address.
The address is inaccurate. There's lots of different things. But luck has nothing to do with it. If we hit the numbers, it's on the ballot. If enough voters vote yes, it's done. I mean, we saw that done with a very progressive, controversial issue just this last year here in Colorado.
With what? The
marijuana.
Oh, marijuana.
Right? Like.
Sorry, I forgot.
How could that pass in Colorado?
It's been legal in Boulder forever, right?
I hadn't heard about the whole marijuana thing in Colorado.
But that happened through an initiative, and no one would have predicted that that would have become legal in a state where it's still federally illegal. But it happened because enough signatures got submitted, it got on the ballot, enough voters said yes, so the people really can make progressive decisions.
Enough potheads got off their couch, very briefly, signed their name.
Yeah, I think it makes so much sense anyway, just to have an opportunity to make decisions. What really does scare me about what's happening, not just in Colorado, but the country, is so many people are sitting back saying, you know what, I really can't make a difference. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, when they do get off their couch, or when they do register to vote, and they actually go out and vote, they make a huge difference. And that's what we're counting on this campaign. I
feel like, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just to say, it's been really interesting collecting signatures. I've personally witnessed more than a handful of people who had never registered to vote in their life get on their phone and register online to vote in order to sign this petition.
Wow.
So it's pretty powerful.
So in the next, so you have 30 days or something?
60 days.
60 days. So what do you?
Problem.
Yeah, no, yeah. Take a week off. So what do you need to do in those 60 days? You need how many signatures?
We need 86,105 valid signatures.
So you need another
100,000.
100,000.
We're looking for another 100,000. We have trained about 435 people to carry the signatures, petitions. What we're actually doing is we're training each individual so they understand exactly what the rules are from the Secretary of State's office. And then we also have our own expectation about how they act, what they say, and how they're working with people. We're not aggressively going after anybody.
Not debating.
This isn't a debate. This is all about, if you care about what's in your food and you have a right to know, sign it. We're going to get it on a petition in November, and we're going to make it happen.
Yeah. So, it just blows me away they're so against transparency. I interviewed the head of the non-GMO project, Megan Westgate, and she had the very simple point, like, if they're proud of what they're doing, then that should be no issue. Like, if it's organic, every company, of course, wants to put organic on their packaging. They're proud of it. Yeah. So why are they ashamed of it? If it's so safe, if it's so progressive, in terms of yield.
Well, let me tell you what happened in Europe, just from an experience, so that you understand what their resistance is. In Europe, when they packaged all their foods and labeled them with contains GMOs, sales were non-existent. Right. They stopped selling it because nobody would buy it. So guess what they did? They actually stopped producing GMO food over there, and they went to non-GMO food. They don't have to put it on the labels anymore, and their sales went back up. So they have the option to do GMO or non-GMO, right? But obviously they're making a lot more money by not only requiring that you buy seeds every year, and requiring these massive amount of pesticides that are going into our ground.
Pesticides that they sell and control.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that are already building up immunity with the weeds. And, we've done blogs just looking at are GMOs better or not from a pretty scientific point of view. People always think it's an anti-science argument saying we don't like GMOs, but there's actually very little science supporting GMOs generally in terms of production, in terms of cost, in terms of practicality.
And then, people bring up the health benefits, and are there health benefits? And as Larry said, there haven't been long-term studies showing any health impact. So the point is, because it's uncertain and unknown, we just want the transparency that it's being done, so then we can choose.
Right.
We're not saying it's, a detriment to your health. We don't know is really the answer, so we just want to be able to choose.
Let me tell you something else that we did when we were crafting the language. We worked with a coalition of 37 states that are all working on this. And we're all using similar language, so that if the federal government does decide they want to bring this back up and pass some federal legislation that should be done, then we have this general language they can already use throughout the states that are already passing all of this. Secondly, in Colorado, we took it a step further. We really interviewed grocery store owners and restaurant owners. We don't want to penalize anybody. All we wanted to see is that they're following some simple rules of if there's GMOs labeled, so we know. Right. We're not interested in any type of rights of action where you go after a grocery store and sue them, or a restaurant and sue them. We took that out of the language completely. You can't do it. So the Colorado Department of Health will actually oversee this. They already have all the rules and regulations in place. And so if there's a violation, they're going to go in and say, hey, 30 days to correct this. If they don't follow the rules, then they take it to the next step. And if they refuse to get involved, then the district attorney will get involved. So our goal wasn't to harshly go after anybody. Our goal was simply to say, look, we want to know what's in our food. Label it, be honest and truthful. Yeah. And let's do it.
You probably know about Chipotle, a local Colorado-based company that's everywhere. They just optionally or whatever, on their own, they decided to be GMO transparent. The first chain. Hasn't hurt their sales. I mean, they're blowing up. They continue to blow up, which is hip lingo for doing well. My grandma's always like, what?
Did you get the fire extinguisher?
Why?
Yeah, and I think their leadership has some commitment to that. But also, you must assume that they're doing it because they know consumers demand. They know it's not going to hurt their sales. If anything, it's going to help increase their sales because they're serving what consumers want.
Which is transparency,
yep.
Right.
The other thing that's happened over the last 6 to 8 months is the stores that are selling products that don't contain GMO, or they're labeled, or they're making a real conscious effort around it, the natural grocery stores, their sales are spiking. And we're seeing the organic market spike 35% in a year. That's amazing. while you walk down that aisle of all those packaged cereals, their sales are down 10%.
But that's okay because the cereals will be good until 2052. So they can just sit there. Someone will buy it eventually, maybe.
I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah. So here's one question I always get confused about, more with the non-GMO projects, which I have some issues with. Why? I mean, organic is non-GMO. So organic is already labeled saying you're safe from GMOs. Why do we need further GMO labeling?
That's a very good question, and I obviously question that myself. If there was enough organic food to feed all the people that would like to be served non-GMO food, then there wouldn't be an issue. The fact is that we're all going to different grocery stores, and we should know exactly what's in the food we're buying, and the packaged food we're buying. And, you know, it used to take me 30 minutes to shop. Now it takes me 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because I read every label. When I can't figure out what that word is that's about this long, I type it into my phone and say, what is that? And find out it's actually
good for you.
But, you know, that's a terrible commitment to have to make, and most moms and dads don't have time for it.
Right. But that is like our American values. Like we want to know, and you're looking out for yourself, individualism. You know,
isn't that part of the freedom we have in this country? You would think this would be simple.
So is your hashtag for your campaign America?
What's
I think that's taken.
Yeah. Well, we could. Yeah. America's never taken. By nobody. So what's the hashtag for your campaign? Speaking of social media, like if people watching this want to get the word out, is it like GMO labeling or is it Right to Know Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't know. We have an official one, but it would be Right to Know Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Right to Know Co. Maybe.
You control
It's being created right here. Go.
Right to Know CO.
Done.
Let's do it.
I think we have a hashtag.
Done. We have a hashtag.
I like it. Like, what would be the opposition of that? I don't have a right to know Co. I don't want a
Me
right
in the
to know.
dark.
Yeah. Don't think about me, Co. What were you going to say? I interrupted.
We're talking about organic, so it's kind of like one of those, elementary school logic problems. If all organic may be non-GMO, but not all non-GMO is organic, right? And my husband owns an organic soda company. To go through organic certification is quite something. So some people.
What's your soda company?
Ugave.
Yeah, right. Cool.
So not.
I think I've met him.
Great, he's a great guy. So
you
not
might
all.
be biased.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah.
But not all companies want to go through the expense and the process of getting organically certified. But they want people to know that there are no GMOs in their products, which is why the non-GMO project is helpful.
Great point. There's some fantastic local farms around Colorado that really follow all of the organic standards, but they can't afford
because they're smaller. Right. Yeah. Organic, it makes sense for big companies for sure. Awesome. Well, I've already signed at my local farmers market.
Thank you.
Unless there's some other.
You know, we're really very grateful that the grocery stores have gotten involved. And so,
what
Vitamin Cottage, Alfalfa's, Lucky's here in Boulder have really helped us a tremendous amount. And we're on our way.
There's one other big grocery store. I feel like
we're on our way to meet them as we leave here. And
right after
I
this.
think we'll have a nice announcement.
Right. Oh, exciting.
Unprecedented.
And be able to tell you that Whole Foods is really jumping in.
Awesome.
So we're very excited.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. I mean, John Mackey, obviously, their whatever he is now, founder anyway, he's libertarian and would be all about his right to know everything versus big corporations. And Whole Foods is obviously a leader in that.
Yeah, and they're a big organization, and we really appreciate them stepping up to the plate.
That'd be huge. Yeah.
So many of the others have really been amazing, and I got to tell you that the Colorado support we're getting from all of the organic community and others has been great.
Yeah.
But boy, are we learning a lot really quick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about food until, well, maybe I did because I ate so much, but other than that, I never was involved in the food industry before, and when the campaign's over, I went to it again.
Except for, eating it, right?
I just want to eat healthy food.
Yeah, that's good. I like how simple it is. Well, there's other organizations in Boulder I'd love to connect you with who have done a lot in terms of ballot measures and natural products and blah, blah, blah. But we can talk about that after.
Awesome.
But I think anyone watching this, if you do have your own connections you'd like to bring to the table, how do people get in touch with you all?
I'll let you jump in.
So our website is righttoknowcolorado.org. That's the best place to connect with us. You can even email volunteer@righttoknowcolorado.org. We have a very active Facebook page, so if anybody messages us there, we're always very responsive. And on our website, you can find a local phone number that's managed by somebody in the campaign, so that's a great way to go.
And I'm sure, like I was saying in the beginning, Monsanto and DuPont and all them really want people to know there's GMOs in their products because they're proud of it. So they'll probably want to contact you to be like, how can we help?
They could donate. That'd be great. There's a donate button on the site.
Monsanto is a little tight for cash right now, but maybe might happen.
So if I could say two things.
Please, yeah.
First of all...
Do you mean I haven't covered everything with my dumb questions?
Not my begging. We need help.
I left my wallet.
Yeah, we're really a grassroots campaign.
Right.
It's all about, people like you and me and people in our community that care about this issue, that are volunteering, whether it's a day a month or 5 days a month or 2 hours, just collecting signatures. That's really what we need help with right now. And if you're not in Colorado and you want to help, make a small donation. We don't need $1 million. We need $5, $20. Every little bit's helping the campaign right now. We're doing everything we can to keep moving and growing, and the momentum's amazing.
And the money goes to just help train volunteers, or what?
The money
I do that for free.
The money is really going right now just to fund our general expenses, so like T-shirts,
printing, mailing,
and mailings, envelopes, printing. That's our major need right now. We have not spent a lot of money right now in the campaign. There's no one paid. We're all grassroots, so all the money is going right back out on the street to help. At some point in time, we're probably going to have to ask people to help us, some paid circulators, but at this point, we're still all volunteers.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I mean, you're both volunteering a lot of your own time, right?
We are. Well, we've gotten to know each other pretty well.
Late night phone calls.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's been an amazing campaign just because you get to see the passion of people and
so
how
inspiring.
much they really care. Yeah, it's really cool.
And do you think, if you're making a prediction, like not in positivity land, but if you're making a prediction, do you think you're going to win out?
I can tell you in my heart that I know that if we get on the ballot this fall, we're going to pass in Colorado. Not only is it because we're a grassroots campaign, we're talking to thousands of people all over the state. I mean, it's from one end of the state to the other. We have volunteers out on the street. But it's because Colorado cares. Colorado cares about what they're eating. It cares about lifestyle. It cares about the activities and outdoors. And just, this isn't right.
And even with marijuana, we were joking about it. I mean, we've shown a willingness to buck the trends just to do, to protect personal liberty. And
yeah, the one thing that all of these wonderful companies you talked about will do is they'll help our economy because they'll put a lot of money into the economy to help us understand the other side of this issue. And so they'll put in a lot of money, and we're not going to have a lot of money. We understand that. And we're doing everything, grassroots, on the inside, do everything we can to talk about the issue. People understand it in the state. They're not going to be swayed by all the lies that are going to come from it.
And just another point, you were talking about marijuana and people, didn't know if that could get done. And, a big thing about labeling GMO food is, well, who's going to regulate it? Who's going to manage that at the state level? Well, talk about a big thing for them to have to learn to regulate is marijuana. They're doing that, right? They're passing new regulations and restrictions and finding ways to manage that. They certainly can find ways to manage food labeling.
Right. I mean, we've labeled food with, there's like 800 labels. I'm sure we can handle it in one. Right.
They're probably going to talk about how it's going to raise food costs and there's going to be unemployment. That's all crazy.
Well, because Monsanto really cares about the people. I mean,
I'm not going there again, but I will say that I talked to Ben & Jerry's last week, and what they told me is they just went through and changed all their products to non-GMO, right? And they went through and they relabeled everything, and guess what it cost them? Nothing, because they always are relabeling their products and updating them, and so they just did a cycle where they just continued to relabel it. It's not costing them.
Wow.
Small graphic design.
Cheers to Ben & Jerry's. Well, the most important thing here is I'm vegan, and I used to live in Vermont, and I was a Ben & Jerry's addict. And they don't make good vegan coconut ice cream, so if you're watching Ben & Jerry's,
Jerry,
this is the most important issue to come up today.
They've been known to name flavors after people too. So maybe.
Right, way to go, vegan way,
I like it.
coconut way. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your work.
Thanks
it's really
very
inspiring.
much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So again, we'll put all the info in our blog about how to connect, but just one more mention of your Facebook page or your website.
Yep, it's righttoknowcolorado.org.
Okay. And Right to Know Colorado probably on Facebook.
Yep, it's Right to Know Colorado GMO.
Okay, great. And people can help out by donating or volunteering.
Correct.
Absolutely.
We're doing
Buying a
webinar
t-shirt.
trainings 3 times a week, so people can get trained by webinar.
Wow. Taking us
We do
as well.
some in person also, and just however they want to react. So.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good luck with Whole Foods, and I've got a couple other connections for
Thank you.
So thank you. Here's Citizens Getting Up Off the Couch. As always, you can follow Walk the Talk Show on SoundCloud as well if you prefer to listen. You don't have to look at me. And youtube.com/Waylon Lewis. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.